already, because having the conversation and having people involved in it, well, we appreciate the ones that are willing to do that, particularly on a day like today, as we do have that whole Friday thing going on. Free for All Friday is the order of the day, meaning we will take on your comments, concerns, questions, what have you, throughout the program today. Comments over on the socials as well as calls on the line here. So if you're wanting to do that, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. More than welcome to, because there is just a lot going on. I know we don't talk about it much on this program, a little bit outside of our scope for the moment anyway. Hopefully it stays that way. But I mean, the Ukraine situation is top of my mind. Elections always on my mind. Almost always, even when we don't have them, I just kind of miss them. I guess I feel like football fans do now that we're past the Super Bowl and looking towards next season whenever we're done with elections. Yes, I know that makes me weird, but I can't help it. I just love talking about it and focusing on it, and that's what we do. And again, so thank you to the guests that we have had on this week in part and previous weeks as well. A couple of the races that we have closed out now with all of the candidates represented on this upcoming, or technically current, primary ballot, I should say, is we have the Texas 16th Congressional District Democrat primary. Now all of those candidates represented. Veronica Escobar, current Congresswoman for El Paso, and Del Reyes Montañez Berrios for the challenger in that race, having previously interviewed them in the recent weeks, as well as all of the candidates for the County Commissioner's Precinct for GOP primary. All four of them having now been on our air. So if you want to go back and check any of those, more than welcome to as well. So again, we got comments, questions, calls if you want to. We will take on any subject here today. Just keep it clean, particularly if you're calling in, because again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is the number to do that on here, assuming our reach hasn't been nuked here. Michael Armstead letting us know that he voted yesterday, no waiting, quick and efficient. I guess that is the benefit of the way our system seems to work in this area, is that, yeah, you can probably get in pretty easily. Haven't gone to vote myself just yet, but I'll be probably voting early just because election days often end up being a slightly busy one around here. But thanks for that perspective. Hopefully we can encourage even anyone to go out to the polls here. Again, should be open for a couple hours more. The hours may vary by location. The best place to check that, epcountyvotes.com, in which there's some more information about not quite the first full week of early voting that we have had here, but as of the end of yesterday, looking at the trajectory, it's hard to tell it right now, because when people vote during early voting that's not as set in my mind. But what it is very possible to see is once we're at the end of early voting, it more often than not has borne out that that's about half the vote, and then the other half of whatever the turnout's going to be will then go out and vote on election day. So we're sitting at just about 2% right now, voter turnout here, because there's a combined amount of about 9,000 and change people who have voted so far, according to epcountyvotes.com. And so that comes out to a little bit, like 1.92%. Again, I'm holding my optimism that people are paying attention to this one. Some of the actual analysis coming out across the state, including from boards and organizations we're members of here, show that this might be the more energetic side of the election. Some of the expectations saying that this first and second quarter of the year might be the main spending coming in, at least again, advertising associations I look at, they give me a peek behind the curtain here, that this might be the time when you're going to be hearing most about these elections, and that there might not be as much during the actual general election. That this is the real energy and activity happening right now, which, I mean, I don't hope is the case, but who knows? At the very least, there's more than a couple of races being noted out here that, well, this is the election. And this surprised me even more than, well, I expected, that there is at least, well, there's more than a couple of races in our local area that are going to be decided, or essentially have already been decided. One of the major ones being actually the seat currently held by Joe Moody, the House District 78 for the Texas House of Representatives. But that is not, unfortunately, an anomaly in this current election season. Specifically, 1/3 of Texas House and Texas Senate races and 2 congressional races have already been decided, because there are no challengers either on the primary ballot or on the general election ballot. And this does not go along by any party lines. I mean, there are tending to be more Republicans involved in this because this is Texas, but it goes across all swaths of not even just areas of the states, but just, yeah, it's annoying to me in the extreme. Two Republican congressmen congresspersons that are going straight through. They are the next elected official to be holding that seat if they weren't already. But 8 of the 31 Texas Senate seats already decided, and 41 of the 150 Texas House seats already decided, split decently evenly there, actually. 22 Republicans and 19 Democrats. That just makes me die a little bit on the inside anytime I hear that, because the idea of an elected official just getting the pass through, getting the go-ahead run, it hurts me. It hurts me in ways that I find difficult to describe, because it's not how this is supposed to work. So, in sum total, my plea to you and to me and to everyone else listening and even considering it, to make sure you go out and vote, to at least prove to those that are paying attention that you are also paying attention to this and these races here, because that's, in my mind, what allows this to happen is the fact that, well, they don't think anyone's bothering to vote in our area here. And even then, we still have some of the situations locally, again, within the Texas, the 78th, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken on that or making up numbers here. The El Paso, no, 78th is Joe Moody's. So the one that is locally, so it must be 79th then, that only has Democrat challengers for it. That kind of a stuff is concerning to me. And then we have other circumstances, such as, again, the county judge, though that one is a special one, as we will be talking more about that after this primary, with the opponent hoping to be able to get on the ballot, and the legal hoops that it takes for a nonpartisan candidate to end up in these partisan elections. It's a weird situation. So we'll be getting to that more after the upcoming race, or current primary election. I know there's been some audience interest in that, so we're responsive enough to it. But John Brazelton also chiming in here that Bassett Center is close to central El Paso. I mean, there are a whole lot of places that you can go out and effectuate your vote out there. Again, epcountyvotes.com is a good place to do so, but I mean, most of the major malls and a whole lot of other places. One I usually end up going to, because it's decently on my way to the commute, is one of the west side branches of the El Paso Public Library over there near Red and Franklin. So that's the one I tend to end up voting at. But yeah, that's not a good meet and greet location. Did have a question come in from a listener yesterday about anything in person we're going to be doing. Just as a happenstance, going to happen to be out on President's Day, coming up here on Monday, at the Mattress Firm at 10771 Gateway South from noon to 2. So not exactly the in-person event I had in mind here, but since there's been some interest and some questions about it, we will be out there. So a lot more elections. And in fact, there's more information going to be coming out soon about the fates of these candidates beyond just the polling numbers that we had come out this week. But we'll get into that and more due for that first break of the hour here right now. You are tuned into Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. If you want to chime in on the show, we are taking those calls throughout the program here today, because we're doing that whole Friday thing, Free for All Friday, on deck. So the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got a crash that's blocking 3 left lanes, Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles, and Joe Battle Boulevard northbound in Montana. Look for an accident there, police responding to. On Liberty Expressway, from an earlier accident westbound, the traffic is backed up from a crash at Marshall Road. 2 right lanes are blocked there. And watch for an injury accident Loop 375 at Pebble Hills exit ramp. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Win $1,000.
No way. No way. No way.
Oh, baby. Yes way.
No way.
It's a grand in your hand. Listen every hour from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. weekdays for your chance to win.
A grand in your hand is brought to you by Approved Autos. Drive out in your new ride in less than an hour. Choose from every make and model from their super clean, hand-picked inventory and get payments as low as $159 a month. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you got your license and you got a job, they smell a deal. The deals are sweeter at Approved Autos, 8498 Alameda.
This report is sponsored by Texas Secretary of State. Elections are coming up, Texas. Are you vote ready? Find all the information you need about the approved IDs and important dates at votetexas.gov today. Powered by the Texas Secretary of State.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Here's Joe Biden's strategy for the border crisis.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration. In the first 100 days of my administration, no one will be deported at all.
Biden's reckless border policies have emboldened dangerous drug cartels. Listen to Tarrant County Sheriff Bill Wayburn.
There's a clear and present danger. It's deadly fentanyl, and it's killing our kids. How's it getting here? Through our southern border. That's why Governor Abbott's deployed the National Guard to assist law enforcement at the border. He's given us new authority to arrest trespassers. He's increased jail capacity to handle criminal arrests. Joe Biden should be securing this border, but he won't. That's why Governor Abbott is getting the job done.
Governor Abbott is endorsed by the National Border Patrol Council. On March 1st, vote for Governor Greg Abbott, securing the future of Texas.
Political ad paid for by Texans for Greg Abbott.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing. So a lot of ways to interact with the show. We've got them both, all those social pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. The main one ends up being the Facebook page for the most part, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. And all those methods are good ways to chime in throughout the show, usually anyway, because right now we are taking those phone calls. It is Free for All Friday. If you're unfamiliar with the concept, that means that we will take on any subject, take on all comers here today. Just keep it clean. That's what I ask specifically. Those dirty words, particularly if you're calling in, the number to do so there, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. One thing I did want to address before we get too far into the calls here is one we took late yesterday. And, we take on a lot of issues here and often treat the end of Thursday as kind of the kickoff for Free for All Friday here. But we did have the call and comment about, the anniversary of the passing of the late, great Rush Limbaugh, and drew some ire out there. And I wanted to talk a little bit further about that before we delved into it. We take on a lot of opinions, and I may have a thicker skin than the average person dealing with all of these issues we do here, but it did get me thinking what people were saying and also what goes along with it about missing the point specifically. There was some that took offense with the tone of it, I guess, and what was actually being said during it. I guess that is certainly a legitimate point, and you're entitled to your feelings on it. But what irks me more about it is the idea of, again, the schadenfreude of the I like it when people I don't like feel pain or are injured or inconvenience in a variety of ways. But then also that just the completely missing the point that Rush Limbaugh was not a figure of importance just because umpteen people decided they liked him or were going to listen to whatever he said. It's important because of the things that he talked about, and then the people who were tuning in and listening to it. So by kind of just saying that, he's gone, and everyone who liked him, you get to suffer along with it, is missing the point about it. We stand on the shoulders of giants when we do this kind of a radio program, because talk radio would not be what it is without the lifetime of work from individuals such as Rush Limbaugh. But again, just by saying that's, again, the other guys I don't like have had something bad happen to him, therefore I like it, you're not getting to the core of the issue of anything that he brought up. It's literally just a, Simpsons kind of thing happening here. So that's what I guess really irks me about it, amongst other things here. But that's my minor soapbox for the minute. As we also have a Leroy Chuck joining us over on the Facebook page. John Browson and Michael Armstead have been tuning in as well. But we'll go ahead and get to those calls now. Again, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Right now, we do have Barbara on the west side here with us on the line with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Good Friday afternoon. Andrew, thank you for taking my call. Yesterday, I heard you say that Escobar, that you had interviewed her, I guess, the day before when I was taking classes. So I went in and I listened to the interview, and I wish you would at least give us the bill numbers that she says that she has passed or has there. So I did some research myself, and I found one of them in the Homeland Security Improvement Act. And I wanted to comment. She said that she's the only member that's brought 20% of the members of Congress to our area. And I think that's great. But then she says she took them to Juarez. And so I guess she's showing them the landscape of where these illegal immigrants, well, not yet, but when they're trying to cross illegal into the United States or apply for asylum and are in Mexico waiting for processing. And so she's going over there and showing them all these facilities, how deplorable I'm sure that where they're staying is at. But my question is, does she mention to them the stash houses that have increased in El Paso and the surrounding areas, or the fentanyl that's been seized at our border, or the children that have been dropped off and abandoned at the border wall? I mean, that's part of El Paso, not just taking care of people in Juarez. We have a say and a stake in what's happening in our community. So I thought, well, I'm glad she brought them over. But if you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle in front of you, they're missing a lot. And then she indicated that she had a bill and she was dealing with processing and Border Patrol.
Right.
And her idea of Border Patrol and ICE, well, ICE is non-existent. But this bill that I'm looking at, reporting requirements, I mean, she wants, and I've stated this before, and I didn't finish making the comments, that she wants the Border Patrol out on the border looking for deceased illegal immigrants. She wants them to determine how long they've been there and what the cause of death is, and see what Border Patrol could have done to prevent the deaths of these illegal immigrants. And then she says that she's for technology and body cams. I can assure you, those body cams are not going to be used to defend our Border Patrol, because she wants to know to what extent the border technology and physical barriers and stuff like that contributed to the migrants' deaths. And then after that, the Border Patrol are to issue a report, and the controller, and I'm reading this, Comptroller General of the United States shall review such report to determine its validity, the statistical analysis, what could the Border Patrol have done to prevent the deaths or the frequency of deaths, what programs or measures they're going to put into place to stop the deaths. So they're still not doing what their job is to be, protecting us, protecting our border, protecting our sovereignty. So they're out there, crime scene investigators, coroners is basically what she's doing. So that's a disservice to the Border Patrol, and it's a disservice to the community not to let us know that this is one of the bills she has, and that's what she intends to do. And that's why she's so quiet, because she works, underneath the radar. And then today, I don't know if anybody's read that the Biden is changing the policies to make it easier for illegal immigrants to get a green card. The Trump expanded the requirements, and he included anybody who was going to come and be a charge to the citizens or to the United States couldn't come in. I mean, if you can't take care of yourself financially or maintain yourself, that's going to make it harder for you to get a green card. Well, the Biden administration is now expanding it, and they're saying if you're reliant on welfare programs, that's not going to be used against you to get a green card or to get your asylum. And earlier in the week, I mentioned that the definition or the terminology of what the Customs Enforcement Department was going to be citizenship. They changed it.
Oh, yeah, USCIS in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with enforcement, okay? Well, part of this change that the administration is making for the green cards is that this information that they obtain from these asylum seekers or illegal immigrants cannot be used against them when their cases are reviewed to issue a green card. So this is all muddled. What's the purpose of interviewing anybody at the border if everything you get is confidential and it can't be used against them, and the people issuing the green cards don't know what's there?
I mean, we're clearly looking at a very different change in this administration, absolutely here. And you're referring to there just a second ago about the public charge rule that was put into place under the Trump administration regarding to the ability to support themselves. And so, I mean, we are looking at, okay, I'll say it this way. I am not surprised by any of this, that this has been something. If anything I'm surprised about, I'm surprised it's taken this long for the administration to be shifting its focus like on this, because there are more than a few campaign promises from the Biden administration that are wrapped up in this. I think the curveball they got thrown came from the having to reinstitute Title 42, though I am more than a little bit suspicious that they were kind of happy about that, but that time may be over, as there is now, not Title 42, that they were left with Title 42 because of the Remain in Mexico policy.
Yes.
But of course, that coming out today, that policy, now the review of the merits of it going back before the Supreme Court, because anyone might be confused there. You might think, well, the court said they had to re-implement it. It's because the Biden administration, essentially the court ruled that they had not removed the program itself in accordance with federal law. So it wasn't actually an evaluation of the merits of the law itself, but rather the way it was done away with, very similar in a sense to the whole DACA and DAPA things that we had, and I've interviewed people in our own area about. So I think that threw the current administration for a curveball, but I think that it appears, I mean, all the things that you just listed off there and the things even going on today, starting to pick up steam a bit with more implementing the priorities as they have them when it comes to the rest of this term of office.
Right. And it doesn't matter if we take them to court or who takes them to court. They defy any court order that the court renders. So it's like there is absolutely no winning with this administration, and it's all losing, because I don't know what somebody can call in and say that this administration has done that has positively affected anybody, any citizen. I see everything as an adverse effect to our sovereignty, to our safety, to our community, to our economy. I mean, everything is downhill. I don't see any positive coming out of this administration, and unfortunately, we vote with our feet, and we've got to wait 3 years. I'd say we need to do an awful lot of praying that between now and then, our country is not totally destroyed by this administration. With the fact that our representative Escobar, we've got to vote her out, because she condones everything that's happening, and her focus is on illegal immigration. She has I don't believe she contemplates anything about our safety, our kids, the effects of drugs, how many people are dying, sexual abuse, human trafficking, slavery. All these things are because of the policies that she advocates. She has no problem with any of them. I don't understand how someone can live in the greatest country in the world, have benefited so much from the benefits our country has to offer, and I feel has turned her back on us, has turned her back on anything good that has to do with the American people who built this country and who are good to anybody. We're a generous country. We're a loving country. And then she said, well, you know what? We have to get to the root of the cause of the root problem. And she named the Central American countries and Mexico. Well, that's 4 of them, but we have 160 other countries. What about the other 154 countries? How do we get to the root of the cause there?
Yeah.
Can't they understand that we are imploding with their policies? Unfortunately, I just say pray for our country, for common sense, and that this next 3 years goes by fast and we survive it all.
Pray and vote specifically. You kind of elaborated on there a bit, but the idea that, yes, we got this administration and their time in office left to go, but we got midterms going on. I mean, the groundwork of that being laid right now. So if you agree with almost anything or even disagree with anything you were just saying there, Barbara, people should go out and vote and put their money where their mouth is when it comes to, if they're actually concerned about it, do something about it. And voting is the order of the day right now. So we have got these issues on the ballot. I mean, we have got both within our listening area, the Texas 16th and the Texas 23rd Congressional District, both competitive races where there are opponents on both sides of the ballot, Republican to Democrat. So make sure you know who you're voting for, where you're voting, and go out and do it, because this is the moment to make how you feel your priorities clear when it comes to how this current administration is going here. And just as another point to one of your earlier things here, coming out of the Texas Tribune a little bit before our show today, federal authorities seek to protect rare Texas plant in path of border wall construction, specifically the prostrate milkweed, which is an endangered species that I've never heard of before. So we'll get into more of that after the break here. We got to take that next one.
Can I just make one more comment?
Briefly, if you can.
This is my advice to everybody in El Paso. And I gave it to my sister when she wasn't aware of what was going on. I said, don't vote. Let the people who know what they're doing vote for you. And that's what I tell El Paso. If you don't know who Veronica Escobar is, don't go vote for her.
Okay, that I will agree with you on, that if you don't know who the people on the ballot are, there's actually, it's not the preferred way, but I argue there's nothing wrong with leaving a race blank if you know nothing about it. In fact, I would kind of prefer it. But what I would counter with is that I'm going to have a hard time saying to anyone, don't go vote, but know what you're voting for. Even do just a quick Google search and head to the polls. I mean, there are multiple local organizations such as League of Women Voters, El Paso Matters, putting out profiles of the people on the ballot. Give it a quick read through. You're not doing anything much else on social media anyway, and see what they are saying and make your decision. That is what I feel very comfortable saying.
You just changed my mind. You're absolutely right. If you don't know what you're doing, leave it blank.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's not the popular thing to say, but I think it works there. So thank you for the point in the call. Yeah. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a great weekend.
Oh, you too there. Again, we're taking those calls right now. The number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We got to take that break right now. But coming out of the break, we will get to more calls on the line. So if you're there, stay with us. Otherwise, if you want to call in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Abortion is not taking center stage in Texas's first in the nation primary. The March 1st primary will mark 6 months that Texas clinics have operated under a law that bans abortion after roughly 6 weeks of pregnancy. The restrictions are the toughest in the nation, but both Republican and Democratic candidates alike are largely emphasizing other issues as voting is already underway in Texas. Many believe the abortion issue will return to the spotlight in the general election campaign when candidates are facing the opposing party rather than like-minded competitors from their own, and after the Supreme Court decides whether to weaken the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling that guarantees the right to an abortion. And the search for the new superintendent is coming to a close in the Socorro School District. The Board of Trustees started interviewing candidates on Wednesday, and the lone finalist for the position could be announced as soon as Monday. I'm Iraca Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
The McRae Boulevard exit is closed at the I-10 eastbound due to a crash. That's exit 28A. You won't be able to take McRae exit, and the backup is to Hawkins. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles. An accident blocking the 3 left lanes. Backup past Viscount. Liberty Expressway westbound at Marshall. That accident's finally cleared up. All the lanes are back open. And heavy traffic, Loop 375 at Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our weather pattern has turned really quiet for tonight and for this weekend with lighter winds and warming temperatures. However, we do have our next weather maker that will begin to slightly increase our winds on Sunday, but really get them cranking for next week. We are under a weather warn as a result that will begin for your Monday and last through Thursday.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Don't drive much, don't pay much with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Life is good when you're in the driver's seat. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smartmouth Mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smartmouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/.
I love when my friends stop by, but to help keep my friends and my family safe, I always spray Lysol in my home before guests arrive and again after they leave. Nothing kills more viruses on more surfaces than Lysol disinfectant spray. Lysol, what it takes to protect. Use as directed.
Looking for a great deal on blinds, shades, and shutters? Save 50% off any order during Blindster.com's President's Day sale. Blindster offers custom wood and faux wood blinds, roller shades, cellular shades, even custom plantation shutters. And they're all 50% off for a limited time. Blindster.com. This report is sponsored by Blindster.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the social pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Either of those names, Talk El Paso, Andrew J. Polk, most of those places, you'll find us. Be able to tune in, chime in that way, as we have Calvin Williams, Leroy Chuck, John Browson, James Radcliffe, Rolla Maya, and more tuning in, chiming in. Michael Armstead a little bit earlier. Always appreciate the note about the voting and the weather circumstances, conditions of the voting right now. As much as I would love for them to be packed, I guess for those of us who actually vote, it's decent news that it's going pretty smoothly here. And just to highlight something that was said earlier in the week as well, those on election day, if you want to wait that long, it's your prerogative. As long as you're voting, you can vote at any of the election areas in El Paso. We do have the voting centers now in place. So any of the places that you can go vote at any of them, not just your precincts. So in favor of making it simpler for people to be able to accomplish their goal there, find it a good one here. So John Browselton, with some other we had a call that came in off air agreeing with some of the sentiments of our previous caller there, and some more agreement. James Radcliffe agreement with Barbara on her comments here, and John Browselton painting a dim view of the Biden and Escobar administration's view of Border Patrol, saying specifically that it seems like they want to take away their weapons and give them white gloves and have them say to each person in Spanish and English, "Welcome to America." I'll drive you to your processing center and then fly you to your final destination. So a dim view, indeed, being taken by himself here. If you wanted to chime in, again, more comments, interesting ones coming through here, including Leroy Chuck saying, a person getting their feelings hurt sounds like a first world problem. Yes, to a quite large extent here, but hey, we deal with all of it here. It is Friday, so we will take on all of those comments and concerns. So if you're wanting to do so, the number to call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Stephen on the east side on the line with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks. I actually had a comment about a news report that I saw earlier this week that went underreported. But since you brought up Rush Limbaugh, I just wanted to say that a lot of times what happens in the media is, these people have been speaking for hours a day, every day for sometimes decades. And whether it's him or Joe Rogan, you can take these little small clips out of context, and people who don't know them will say, wow, that's a terrible person. But, if you could do that to anybody, you could probably make somebody look bad. So sometimes that's what happens. And that happens on both sides, the left and the right.
No, that's very true. I'll agree with you there.
So the news report that I saw earlier this week that I thought was interesting was, this was reported by Reuters, It was, I think the Department of Energy did a study about ethanol. And, ethanol was a big thing for, government subsidies for, decades. And then they just recently found out that ethanol is 24% worse in terms of carbon emissions when you take everything into consideration than regular gasoline. So I just want people to approach what the government says about, what they can do about the carbon dioxide emissions, controlling the climate. Just approach what they tell you with some skepticism, because they'll claim they're following the science, but science isn't always stable. They don't know a lot of things, and they find out later that they were making a huge mistake.
I mean, that's very true. I mean, and anytime someone brings that up there, thank you for the point in the call there. I mean, the thing is that science is not a dogma. It's not a scroll to the bottom. Yes, I accept science. And then no, it's literally just a process of investigating the circumstances and issues within the world around us. So to say that, yes, I trust the science is kind of missing the point in that it's literally about investigation. Now, there's people out there that says, no, I don't believe in science, which is also a semi-nonsensical statement, because particularly if they're calling into us here, listening to us over the radio, being online with us, you're literally dealing with the results of the scientific process, but that's a separate gripe. But there's also a reason that I refer to some of our most common commentators and fervent supporters and fervent haters as the Skeptic Squad, because being skeptical about these things is not necessarily a jaded, it's not a nihilistic kind of standpoint here, because it's a saying, okay, I'm not sure about that, I want to see more, at its mildest form, the way I end up doing it for the most part. But the idea of okay, sure, but let's find out more to make sure, kind of trust but verify, but maybe a little bit more cynical, I will admit, is kind of a decent way to go through life, as saying that, okay, that's cool. I mean, I've read articles over years about much touted scientific developments, including a supposed kind of machine lubricant that could have allowed for massive efficiencies within processing equipment, and that not ended up becoming totally to fruition. Other implications when it comes to processing of, renewable fuels and things like that. And ethanol, yeah, that's been kind of a bugaboo for years now, particularly when it comes to the idea of, yes, you're turning plant waste into matter, but even then, the efficiencies aren't necessarily there either. It's the real thing that makes it just not make sense to me. And very specifically, the way that if it was being produced like on small farms and then being used there, decentralized, it would almost work. But the idea that, okay, we're going to take this stuff, we're going to turn into fuel and truck it all to one central location, and then truck it all back. You've done just several orders of magnitude more work into making it than it would actually produce on its own. Yeah. Anyway, Calvin Williams with a not quite a paraphrasing of something that I could decently saying that I might say there are those that vote and those that don't vote, but that someone would take it out of context and play the clip saying that I'm saying don't vote. I have often wondered about that, and I choose my words not exactly with an idea of it being chopped up and maliciously done, but there's also kind of a reason that we put everything that we say out there in its entirety on social media so that you can see it for yourself. If you got wanted context questions, you're more than welcome to tune in and chime in with all of that here. Going to try to take another quick call before we end up in this next break here. I think we do have Raul in the Northeast on the line here with us. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, President Biden's first year in the White House ushered in record job gains, unprecedented wage gains for low-income workers, and the GDP growth that hasn't been seen in decades. So Barber's not looking too hard. He also inherited a sick nation and a crash economy from Trump. Okay, so I think he's doing very well in light of that.
Okay, so then on that point there, I want to make a fine one, because yes, it is being touted by this current administration that they're seeing the largest job growth in recent history. But as the second point you just made there about the fact that there was also an economic crash, how much of these are actually new aggregate jobs as opposed to, well, jobs that were recovered as businesses have come out of restrictions and things like that? That's not a point being made that often.
Yeah, and inflation and high gas prices are due to the global pandemic and its negative effect on the supply chain of labor and goods. Corporate America has also raised prices and has recorded record profits. There might be a little gouging there going on. Now, President Biden addressed the world today and said that Russia is probably going to invade Ukraine. And I wonder what Trump would have done, if he was in office. Boy, am I glad he's not, if his pal Putin would invade Ukraine. I wonder what would have happened in that case. And this might affect El Paso because we got Fort Bliss here.
Well, sure.
So I'm very glad that President Biden's in charge rather than Trump. Who knows what would be happening with Putin and Russia if Trump had been reelected.
I mean, you can speculate all you want here, but I'm not sure that we're going to be much better off. Yeah, I mean, most deployments that happened to the Middle East ended up coming through some way, shape, or form through our region previously. Whether or not that'll still be the case, if a Central Eastern European conflict really starts going off, whether that'll be the case, but you can bet there'll be a lot of, we're one of the largest contiguous military facilities when you count Fort Bliss, White Sands Missile Range, Holloman Air Force Base, Kazner Range, all connected within the continental United States. So there'll definitely be some activity happening here, but I'm not sure that I'm excited about that prospect. I would like for that not to happen, but, well, we'll see what happens. That's kind of a day-by-day situation here. So thank you for the point in the call. We're overdue for that next break here right now. If you're wanting to call in during the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
The McRae Boulevard exit is closed at the I-10 eastbound due to a crash. That's exit 28A. You won't be able to take McRae exit, and the backup is to Hawkins. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles. An accident blocking the 3 left lanes. Backup past Viscount. Liberty Expressway westbound at Marshall. That accident's finally cleared up. All the lanes are back open. And heavy traffic, Loop 375 at Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. When you apply for a home loan, there are different options depending on your situation and needs. With Rocket Mortgage, you can see how different down payments, monthly payments, and closing costs will impact your loan and your budget. When you need a lender who works for you, Rocket can.
It's Ram Truck Month at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Don't wait for your tax refund. Buy now and get huge savings with zero down. Save thousands in interest with zero APR for 72 months on all new 2022 Dodge Charger, SXT, and GT models. Huge selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs with huge savings. 2022 Ram trucks with 2.9% APR for 72 months. Zero down. Zero payments for 90 days. Get her done. Upside down in your trade? We want it. Even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms for good credit, or even if your credit is less than perfect. The all-new Sunland Park Dodge Certified Pre-Owned Supercenter has a great selection with more arriving daily. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is still fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. Zero APRs, $13.89 per thousand finance. Also like vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
If you are covered by Medicare and Medicaid, then El Paso Health Plus Medicare Advantage Plan offers great supplemental benefits designed specifically for El Pasoans, such as $3,500 a year in dental benefits, $300 in vision, and a quarterly OTC card with $250 to spend on health and wellness products. Plus, generous benefits for hearing, podiatry, home-delivered meals, and so much more. Plus, our new Get Fit benefit to keep you active and social, as well as our new Healthy Eats program. At El Paso Health Plus, we go the extra mile for our members because this is our home and our local knowledgeable staff is here to help you get more benefits, more services, more from your health plan. If you are covered by Medicare and Medicaid, call us 833-742-3125 or visit ephmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus, your local Medicare Advantage plan.
Elections are coming up, Texas. Are you vote ready? Find all the information you need about the approved IDs and important dates at votetexas.gov today. Powered by the Texas Secretary of State.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. It is Friday, so we're doing that whole Friday thing where we will take on any comments and calls throughout both hours of the show here, closing on the end of the first hour, but we'll take more calls on the line here. Also, a lot of comments coming in over the social media. Facebook, the main one, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, but Stephen Purdy expounding further on inflation issues. John Brazelton commenting that Biden's economy is good only because the blue states finally opened up their economies, or in the process of doing so, including New Mexico, which is a side note there, leaving, among other things, decisions up to the individual school districts on their mask mandates. So still an evolving situation in the land of enchantment here, but also going on, John Browson, and to say, what about high gas prices and record high inflation? And Calvin Williams chiming in that gas prices didn't have to be a global problem if we were still energy independent. Yeah, we were the net exporter of oil and gas there for a while, but, well, that might be one of the other implications coming out of the whole Ukraine situation. Some of the comments that haven't been talked about as much when it comes to that is about securing the energy supply for the European nations that could be, well, pretty SOL if Russia cuts off their pipelines. I mean, there's a lot of been talk about the Nord Stream 2, I believe it's called, pipeline, but that's just the latest one in a whole series that entangles that whole situation. But that's one thing I've looked at personally. But let's get to more calls on the line here. The number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Frankie on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right out of the box here. I got to tell you, that call screener gal has got the most gorgeous sounding voice ever. So congratulations on hiring her. That's number one. Now let me get to my point. What is this mush? You and other people get out there and say, hey, get out there and vote. That's exactly what you Texans are doing. And you know what's happening? They're getting throttled. They're getting smashed and bashed and beat up because of some stupid little ignorant kind of nonsense, because of that stupid Senate Bill number 1 from the goofy governor of yours, Abbott Costello. What is this kind of nonsense? That's what I want to know.
I mean, okay. I mean, yeah, I think you're talking about SB1 there as it came down and requiring forms of ID. Honestly, Texas has already been on its way for that for quite some time now. And whether the merits are of having a concealed handgun license be a valid form of ID is up for debate here. I mean, as we've heard, and it's actually pretty easy to vote in town. Now, if there are those that have reasons they can't, you can also always demand a provisional ballot for almost any reason. Now, those ballots do have more scrutiny put on them, certainly here, but I feel like that's a less understand part of our system that I'm glad, I believe it was Barbara yesterday, brought up about the training she's gotten here. Kind of want to go and do that training myself now to get the specifics going on for when it comes to Texas elections, because I don't think I totally follow you on the beat up and beat down kind of reasoning we're getting out of this, because we have some of the best availability that we have had, at least in our local area, when it comes to how you can vote with both the early voting centers and then the election day voting centers. So I guess I don't find much excuse to not go out and to vote as long as you're registered to vote.
Okay, no, I hear what you're saying here, Andrew, and not to belabor this point, but the whole purpose of the whole United States of America, government of the people, by the people, for the people, and everybody gets to vote. And what's happening out there is these awkward, whatever the heck are they out there trying to throttle a system and make it more difficult for people to vote. Now, I can understand you got to follow the rules, no question about it. Okay, listen, when you register, you got to have an address, you got to have blah, blah, whatever the heck it is. Well, what they're doing is throwing all kinds of obstacles and roadblocks in the way of the average person trying to participate in the American way of democracy. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I take your point there, and I do think how people and the accessibility of the polls is important. I guess I'm not too worried about it in our area. We got a lot of polling places, a lot of ways. I very much find credit with the El Paso County Elections Department for how they handle this and how they put it out. And frankly, if anyone has an issue with their voting, if they're being turned away, feel that they had it all right, demand a provisional ballot as you can, but also let us know. I would be very curious to know if anyone out there, if you have voting problems in this upcoming one, what they are. So particularly if you're going out and voting already, another reason to do it and vote early. is so that we can maybe try to figure out what's going on here. Looking at the numbers, it's really hard to tell at this moment what our voter turnout is. I'm cautiously optimistic that we will bypass our even recent high number of 4.5%, but I'm not going to hold my breath either. Point is that if this will actually be impacting or not, sure, there's a whole hell of a lot of rhetoric when it came to last year on this. I want to see the rubber hit the road on this. The primary is essentially the breeding ground for then what will be the result out of the general election. So not exactly wait and see, but I'll be very curious to see what the turnout is. So thank you for that point in the call. Do appreciate it. We got to end up taking that next break right now. I know we got no more calls in the line here, but we'll get to more of those and more of the comments coming out of the break. So if you want to call in, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're on the line. Stay there. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
McRae Boulevard exit at the I-10 eastbound is closed due to a crash. The backup is at least back to the Patriot. A big crash at Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles. 3 left lanes blocked there. Large backup. Alameda at Zaragoza. An injury accident's causing a huge backup in both directions on Zaragoza. You can use Penndale or North Loop Drive as an alternate. And Sunland Park at North Mesa. Accident reported there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Louis Gohmert, what a wonderful guy. This is a man who's been a friend of mine from day one. I'm Louis Gohmert. As a congressman, I worked with President Trump to build the wall. Thank you, Louis. He's the only one that might be even tougher than us on the board. As a judge, I applied the law equally, no political favors.
Louis Gohmert, the Texas conservative with Texas integrity.
Ken Paxton's attacks on me are now revealing a real desperation. It doesn't bother me. As a judge, I've stared down even the most hardened of criminals. The fact is, Ken Paxton has been indicted for fraud and is being investigated for bribery. And the Democrats are licking their chops. But Texans shouldn't be punished for his actions. I'm Louis Gohmert, and as your next Attorney General, I'll restore the rule of law, and we will secure the border once and for all. Trust me, I'll be the woke mob's worst nightmare.
Louis Gohmert, Fort Texas. Political ad paid for by Louis Gohmert Campaign.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed.
Shouldn't we listen?
They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio. I'm Brian Shook. President Biden believes Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to invade Ukraine.
We have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine in the coming week. In the coming days.
Speaking at the White House, Biden said he hosted a call with European allies and Canada's prime minister. Before his speech, Biden said the U.S. and allies remain in lockstep and accused Russia of pushing out vast misinformation ahead of a likely invasion. White women's tears trump justice, so said the mother of Dante Wright following the sentence given to former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter. Potter was sentenced to 16 months in prison and 8 months of supervised release for killing Wright, an unarmed black man, during a traffic stop. The Supreme Court is set to look into ending former President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. The court will begin hearing arguments in April whether the Biden administration can terminate the policy that requires asylum seekers at the southern U.S. border to stay in Mexico while their applications are being processed. An online poll is causing some concern for Democrats amid the upcoming 2022 midterms. Here's Julie Ryan.
A recent poll conducted by outside consulting groups found that Republican attacks on the Democrats have alarming credibility. According to the poll, 57% of voters feel that Democrats have taken things too far with the pandemic. They didn't elaborate on what exactly that means. 64% of voters in swing districts think Democrats in Congress support defunding the police. 62% feel Democrats have created a border crisis, and 61% say Dems are spending money out of control. The poll revealed that voters are very concerned about inflation and health care. Rounding out the top 5 with concerns are COVID-19, Medicare, Social Security, and climate change. I'm Julie Ryan.
You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A high-profile government official now has COVID. Sarah Lee Kessler has more.
The U.S. Surgeon General is positive for COVID, and so are his wife and 2 toddlers. Dr. Vivek Murthy tweeted to Americans who've tested positive for COVID, describing the frustration and the disappointment that can come with getting the virus after following safety measures. He said while it reduces risk, it doesn't eliminate it.
Spring training games for Major League Baseball are being delayed into March. The league says they won't begin until at least March 5th. This is due to the ongoing lockout involving the league and the Players Association. Fans who had tickets to the games that have now been postponed will have the chance to get a full refund. Human resources professionals are creating a great resignation of their own.
Lars Schmidt, founder of Amplify, an HR consulting firm, says human resources pros are tired after 2 years of facing a pandemic, a crisis of burnout, social justice demands, and remote work. A new poll says 61% of remote workers say they're working from home because they're choosing not to go into the office. And with businesses realizing they'll have to navigate remote and hybrid work as well as figure out new ways to manage teams and rally employees, they're scrambling to bring in talent experts who can answer questions about the future of work. Those same talent experts are the burned out HR professionals that are joining the Great Resignation themselves. I'm Mike Bauer.
Virtual reality dining will soon be a thing. Reps at Silicon Valley's iChina restaurant in Santa Clara, California say they're getting the virtual reality room ready in what will be the nation's first full-fledged sensory immersion experience. It will cost $4,500 for a party of 10 to take part in a VR room tasting menu. iChina spans 2 stories and features massive chandeliers, palace-like decor, marble tables, and opulent glass walls. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Fun. That's fun. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Texas Secretary of State. Elections are coming up, Texas. Are you vote ready? Find all the information you need about the approved IDs and important dates at votetexas.gov today. Powered by the Texas Secretary of State.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Know why we made the free iHeartRadio app?
Why?
So you can bring your favorite radio station, just like this one, and thousands of others with you everywhere you go, right on your phone, along with tons of specially curated playlists to fit any mood or activity, from chilling out to working out. Ooh, and podcasts, literally hundreds of thousands of them. True crime thrillers, the latest headline news, sports. You'll find plenty of podcasts that are perfect for you. So start listening free now when you download the iHeartRadio app. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
iHeartRadio.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690, KTSM, an iHeart radio station.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our various social pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. And get at us a lot of those ways, both see the show, do the whole video thing that we do, get your comments going on as well. We're also taking those phone calls, full up at the moment here, but if you're wanting to call in for the rest of this hour, those phone lines are open, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, because it's Friday, and we're doing that whole free-for-all Friday thing, as we will take on all comments, concerns, questions, what have you. Just keep it clean, particularly if you're calling in there. Personal favor, and I ain't paying that fine, so yeah, we will dump that. Anyway, a lot of stuff being talked about, a lot on my mind, but let's get to more of those calls here. James Radcliffe calling, asking a question to Frankie, I think just after we ended up ending the call there, about Michelle Lujan Grisham, New Mexico governor, signing a bill to give out free college education, saying that this would create less motivation to do well in college. I don't know if I totally follow that kind of reasoning, but education definitely on the mind for a lot of New Mexicans and government anyway, recently, both with that and the push for that, the raise of teacher salaries, now leaving up to individual districts about what they're going to do about mask mandates. Definitely a hot topic in the land of enchantment right now for sure. So if you want to leave your comments over there, more than welcome to, but let's get back to those calls on the line again. The number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do have Jerry in Northwest here on the line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, sure thing. What's on your mind?
Have you heard of that study that came out that Canada, Israel, United Kingdom, Sweden, Scotland all found out that the COVID-19, it's not a vaccine, it's a jab, is not working like it was said to work. Otherwise, people wouldn't still have to be getting more of them all the time. So, and the other thing it does is it wanes your own immunity, which creates more problems with people like cancer or heart disease. It affects the body's immunity on this. And that was a study done, and I read it on the Blaze, if anybody wants to look it up. But getting the shot does not cure COVID. It only it postpones it from you getting it. And that's it.
I mean, yeah, it is not a treatment for COVID-19 and preventative at best, the way I have treated, along with other reasonable precautions and things I've been trying to change in my own life here. But I have heard what you're talking about when it comes to the idea of, I don't have the specific phrase here in front of me and can't recall it off the top of my head, but the idea that doing such things, particularly in short order, can create issues with essentially your immune response becoming dependent on not even just external stimuli like it does to mount the response it does, but for the information it even takes from it. I think specifically affecting the memory cells. And I am not an immunologist, a virologist, epidemiologist, any of these things, but that has been one that I have been looking at and been a little bit concerned about and weighing as I look at the options coming down the road for whatever may happen with boosters and such here. I mean, it's important to stay informed on what is coming up with these things and know the factors for yourself so you can make an informed decision about what you have done. I mean, the choice for me and my family has been to this point to get the vaccination or the jab, as you prefer to put it. But I think that the ability to analyze that for yourself and to make the decision is well, that's the core conflict we're looking at here right now when it comes to all of these things. And I'm definitely going to fall on the side of being able to make your own decision. I mean, there's a concept in modern medicine of being able to refuse and say no, even if this treatment is, I mean, those are some of the most contentious court cases that I've ever seen come across, and me watch as, no, this person has been ruled incompetent and therefore must receive this kind of thing, or custody has been lost by the parents because they refuse service here. I mean, each case is almost heartbreaking when it comes to it, but then putting it on the general population is just screwy at best, regardless of the merits of the treatment itself or the vaccination itself, because just saying, and you have to get it because there sometimes gets side noted as, and there will be exceptions, but those exceptions seem to be becoming increasingly hard to come by, or even vindictive in some ways, and that just really rubs me the wrong way.
And that's exactly what the truckers up in Canada are fighting for, the right to say no.
Yeah,
that's
and
what they're fighting for.
Oh, geez, following that whole story has been its own whole, can of worms. Yeah.
Yes. One more comment. If the economy and inflation is caused by the pandemic, why did we not have it in 2020 and 2021 more than we have it now in 2022? It's 7.5% inflation rate, and the economy was in the cracker on almost every time you turn around.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this is actually a decent comment that came in as well from Stephen Purdy. I don't think I popped it up before, but talking about, more money chasing fewer services. So, I mean, I take your point that the way I look at it is that this economy and the way, frankly, the global economic system for the largest part and for the better part of, this whole century so far, and pretty much ever since World War II, and it just accelerated after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Globalism was driven by one solitary concept: efficiency at the cost of anything else. And this was always a vulnerability that a good enough whack comes along to the system, and it's going to be like a badly loaded trailer on a car that is just careening back and forth and whiptailing all over the road. And that's essentially what we're looking at here. So I do think that there are some of the downstream impacts from this. I'd always thought that this was going to get weirder before it gets better, and that has borne out because, this system has never had a challenge like this, even with other, more regional issues. They were always able to be absorbed by the system. This is on a whole other order of magnitude. So I don't even think we're done with the impacts we've seen yet, but that's part of what I see is why it's getting worse at the moment. But it probably won't even just be necessarily worse the whole time, but just weirder and different and unexplainable and unpredictable. And that's where it gets really concerning, because so many businesses out there require and expect a certain level of stability to be able to function. So I do think on the balance, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. As much as I'm optimistic about our local situation, globally and even nationally, the larger, more encompassing you get the system, the weirder it's going to get.
I suggest everybody go out and buy extra food, because it's going to start getting more expensive and less of it in the stores.
I mean, I've long been a proponent of having, more than the, 2 lonely canned goods in your pantry. I mean, if you can start with a week, I like the idea of having on the order of months, but do what's right for you and your family, as I often say. So thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. You have a good one there. Again, taking calls 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Another call on the line here right now. Do have Ben on the east side here with us. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Once again, Raul knows not what he's thinking, what he speaks of. And unfortunately, what I just listened to you respond to your other caller, obviously you have not been listening to Glenn Beck either, because the only people that know about this for some reason or another is it should be front page headlines on every newspaper, every social media, everything. Inflation is not being caused by anything but $125 trillion that the Fed has pumped into the economy out of thin air over the last 14 years. And every day it's pumping another $1 trillion into the economy. And that's what's causing inflation. When you have that much money going into the economy, producing nothing, too much money, chasing too few goods. We are looking at, and that's the reason why we're going to get a digital dollar. And most of the people that are listening right now, anybody who doesn't know that should look it up. And unfortunately, most of the American people have not a clue what is going on, because that is what is causing our inflation and the reason why we're going to have a collapse of our economy. And you're going to get 50 cents on your dollar.
Mm-hmm.
If you, that's what you're going to get when we come over the USD dollar. Some people are going to get 50 cents on the dollar. That's if you're not in one of the privileged few. If you're in one of the people that don't have a lot of money, you'll get probably 110% on your dollar. And that's in the name of equity. And this is all in the name of the World Economic Forum. This is what is occurring right now. Wake up, America. You have to listen to what is going on. Please, if you don't have a subscription to the Blaze, go ahead and get one so you can look at some of it. And some of the posts are on YouTube right now. Not for long. They'll take them down. But this is what is occurring. So please. And one other thing, and with Steve Purdy,
yes,
he's absolutely right. Don't trust your government and to tell you what to do, because one of the things that from the very beginning of this pandemic, whenever you go into a grocery store, what are they doing to their counters? They're spraying them down with Lysol.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Lysol has no effect on the virus, on any kind of virus? It's in their own PDF, and it says specifically that it does not have an effect on the virus unless you leave it on for 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, you have to essentially flood the area and soak it. So, yeah, as a sanitization, it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, there's a reason when we're talking about
bacteria. It takes care of bacteria, but it doesn't have anything to do with COVID. Our government has been lying to us from the very beginning.
Again, I find it a very important and useful way to just live life, as skeptical at best and wanting more verification on most things here, because I mean, yeah, the communication crisis that has been underlying almost everything involving the pandemic, because this is why transparency and putting what I'm very in favor of, putting it out there, because when you end up with we want people to act this way, so we'll tell them to do this so that they end up acting this way, but we won't really tell them that they need to act this way, such as with the whole mask thing at the start of it, them saying, well, we don't want people to use up all the masks, so we'll tell them not to buy masks, but, well, actually we want them to wear masks, so then we have to go. This is going to be studied for years to come about just how, sure, there has been crises of confidence within public institutions at levels hard to find precedent for within living memory. Anyway, it has also been just so much just self-ownage, just like you just wailing on yourself and these organizations when it comes to this, because it's just been so asinine is the best phrase I can say in this medium for it and how it has come about. And yeah, it's been messy. And I mean, I get your point that you bring up sometimes about the World Economic Forum, the whole, you own nothing and you'll be happy system. But I mean, this has also been going on for a lot longer than that. I mean, there's a whole thing about fiat currency and the way that the transition away from the precious metals backing has affected it. And even before that point, how the US dollar has lost more than 90% of its value versus even just 100 years ago. So that's almost an entire other radio show, not even just another single episode, but a whole nother topic that can got into every day. But this is why just keeping your money in the bank. There was some rapper, some person, some musician that came and said that they buried like $22,000 like 10 years ago, and they dug it up now because they feel they need it now. And the analysis coming out of that, and just like financial authorities and people who are in the finance industry just smacking themselves in the head saying, why did you bury it? Like if you had like even bought like a super cheap house, you would have had made that much more, because yeah, money itself, there's a lot to be said there. But man, going back to the point of what you can do with it right now from our previous caller, just I don't think necessarily shelves will go totally bare in the near term, but keep in mind what you want to have. You might not be able to get it exactly when you want it, so just prepare accordingly. I do appreciate the point in the call there. Overdue for that next break right now, so if you wanted to comment on the show, we are still taking those calls. 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after the break with more Talk El Paso. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
The McRae Boulevard exit off the I-10 eastbound is closed due to a crash. Expect delays and a big backup there on the I-10 eastbound. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles, an accident blocking 3 left lanes. They're working on it. Alameda Avenue at Zaragoza, injury accident there, causing slowing both directions on Zaragoza. Take Pendale or North Loop Drive to get around it. Eastbound Montwood Drive at Joe Battle, an injury accident there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government, impacting the safety and security of our nation. Apply now at gdit.com/careers.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. It sure feels good to step into a warm car after letting it heat up for a few minutes. However, this practice wastes gas, increases emissions, and pollutes the air. Limit idling your car to no more than 3 minutes to save money at the gas station and improve air quality. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
MassMutual knows that your finances can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Mark, we should really talk about our money.
Yep, we really should.
Like we never talk about our savings.
No, we never talk about that. Or our assets.
Or our debt.
Yeah, we really should talk about our debt.
We need one of those financial plans.
One of those will make a difference.
We should talk about it.
We really should.
Talk to us about financial wellness today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. MassMutual. Live Mutual.
It's Ram Truck Month at Silent Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Don't wait for your tax refund. Buy now and get huge savings with zero down. Save thousands in interest with zero APR for 72 months on all new 2022 Dodge Charger, SXT, and GT models. Huge selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs with huge savings. 2022 Ram trucks with 2.9% APR for 72 months. Zero down. Zero payments for 90 days. Get her done. Upside down in your trade? We want it. Even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms for good credit, or even if your credit is less than perfect. The all-new Silent Park Dodge Certified Pre-Owned Supercenter has a great selection with more arriving daily. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Silent Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is still fun. At I-10 at Silent Park Drive or online at silentparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. Zero APRs, $13.89 per thousand finance. Also like vehicles, even free credit. Offers not combined.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to participate in the show. You can call in. We have the phone lines open right now, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Plus a lot of comments coming in over on the social media. A lot of, concerns and comments coming in here, including from Joey Carlson, who I would encourage to listen to the rest of our lineup, particularly once the national topics during the week here. In case there's any confusion about the way we do things here, Monday through Thursday, we focus on the issues that affect us here in the borderland as they come on from all areas, because no one else is going to talk about the issues the way we do. But then on Fridays, we'll take on any subject here. Joey Carlson bringing some things such as the Durham investigation and all of those issues. Again, we trust the other hosts that we have on our air here to handle the big topics that happen nationally and otherwise during the week here. So if you're looking for that kind of a content here during the week, you know exactly where to go here on 690. So So, into the top of the hour news here, talking about that specifically, Joey Carlson clarifying here. Again, we have our topics that are brought up there, but again, we trust our hosts and the rest of it to go there. If you think that I'm putting in the national news there, that's not me. That's what we have fed in here, in case that was at all confusion. Anyway, Kelvin Williams also putting forth that Abraham Lincoln was right when he said that the internet would be the downfall of America. Yeah, and that also my favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln, that quotes you find on the internet may be unreliable at best. Abraham Lincoln, truly words to live by here. So you've got commentary about that. Again, we have the news updates at the top of the hour, but I guess the meat you're tuning in here for is the show and the discussion here. So if you're wanting to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You have Andrew on the west side on the line with us here right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Afternoon there. What's on your mind?
Yes. Reference to what that Raul character said, it leads me right into the topic I wanted to discuss. Basically, this administration's energy policy.
Okay.
How can you have a good economy and delivery of goods at a reasonable price when you've strangled the energy supply of this country? Now you're depending on foreign nations that do not like this country very much. And that goes to my next topic. The first thing that Biden did when he came into office, he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. 15,000 people lost their jobs right off the bat.
I mean, that's true. I do feel like it's lost in the conversation sometimes that, yeah, that was future production and construction here. So not technically contributing to the current lack of supply situation, but definitely making a statement about future intent towards it and what that will mean. I mean, I don't think that there is a zero-sum future of there being more renewable ways. I mean, technically it might make more sense to have, centralized distribution of energy when it comes to transportation, but to think that that can just be done overnight and just by fiat declared, oh, by the way, you all have to drive electric cars now, that's not going to work out well for anyone involved and would lead to, well, situations that we're finding ourselves in right now. Absolutely.
Well, now that you brought that point up about electric cars, okay, what are they going to use to power the charging stations? You need to have either coal, gas, solar energy, or nuclear energy. That's another thing. And also electric cars may not be feasible for some people. Some people I know live in apartment complexes. What are they going to do? String out an extension cord to the parking lot?
Yeah, drop it out the window. I mean, the infrastructure questions that come with this, they are endless and more than bountiful because, yeah, you got to reconfigure our entire system to get there. So, no, not necessarily impossible, but I would like to see if someone is actually serious about this. I mean, there's been a whole lot of the priorities set out by like the Green New Deal, but I haven't seen as much of a like concrete plan of, okay, if you really want to effectuate a transition and not just screw over so many people in the process, lay out the plan of what the concrete steps would be and let people then see the merits of that. Because, yeah, this whole, well, we're just going to incentivize it and increasingly ratchet up the incentivizations until you don't even have a choice anymore is part of the reasoning that comes from that whole line of thinking that I find myself the most opposed to.
Well, that brings another point. Okay, believe me, Putin can control the price of oil, and Biden let him have his pipeline over there. And when you have to transport oil across the Atlantic or Pacific, it costs more money. It does. And to my next point, that Raul character said, well, if he's so concerned about Putin invading the Ukraine, okay, how come it didn't happen under Trump? As I recall, Biden said a limited incursion is acceptable. Was that a gaffe or one of his canards that he's constantly talking about?
Yeah, and that has gotten the, I think, correct amount of response back to it of a WTF kind of movement from both listeners, from allies overseas, and I am a hobbyist when it comes to matters of international relations and international security, but that one does concern me more than most have come up since well, to put another fine point in it, the Afghanistan withdrawal and all the implications that that still has for our current situation.
Well, I think Obama. I'm sorry. I think Biden is listening too much to what was his friend's name, Corn Pop.
Yeah, I do believe that was the one. Yep.
Oh, by the way, my last 2 points. Any variety of milkweed, whether it's that prostrate or the other, I can't remember the Latin term that they use to scientifically identify, but any variety of those milkweeds are highly toxic to livestock and humans.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Like, I've never heard, oh, that lovely milkweed out there. Like, it's never been a positive term in any circumstance, whether it be, hiking or livestock or, husbandry or land management. Never been like a, yes, let's get that wonderful milkweed.
Okay, thank you. And my last point is this. Reference Messiah Frankie. He never cites any examples. What example has he cited about people having a hard time voting? I mean, the individual has there's no substance to his conversation or points. That's all I wanted to say, and I thank you for your time.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the points in the call there. It seems to me, and the way I kind of responded to it was in this same vein, is concerns about the way the legislation was being portrayed when, that was kind of the highlight of last summer, state level politics anyway, or at least what I was paying attention to when we had in almost entirety of the Democrats in the Texas House of Representatives decamped to Washington, D.C. in protest of that. This is essentially the rhetoric that was coming out about it when there was, frankly, I think there was a missed opportunity for them to talk about more impacting issues such as availability of polling places, which I am very thankful of is not an issue in our community because, security and making sure that the people who are voting are the ones that are supposed to. Sure, there are statistics that show that it may be a very low incidence. It's still concerning whenever it happens. Whether that should happen to the exclusion of other efforts is another political question that comes up here. But yeah, it does seem that what he was addressing, as you're referring to there, was primarily the conception, the concerns that were built into the debate of the law, as opposed to with the actual implementation that is going to come by with it. I will agree with you there. So thanks for the point in the call. Due for that next break right now. We do have that phone line open. The number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Abortion is not taking center stage in Texas's first in the nation primary. The March 1st primary will mark 6 months that Texas clinics have operated under a law that bans abortion after roughly 6 weeks of pregnancy. The restrictions are the toughest in the nation, but both Republican and Democratic candidates alike are largely emphasizing other issues as voting is already underway in Texas. Many believe the abortion issue will return to the spotlight in the general election campaign when candidates are facing the opposing party rather than like-minded competitors from their own, and after the Supreme Court decides whether to weaken the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling that guarantees the right to an abortion. And the search for the new superintendent is coming to a close in the Socorro School District. The Board of Trustees started interviewing candidates on Wednesday, and the lone finalist for the position could be announced as soon as Monday. I'm Iraca Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound McRae, that earlier crash is done. All lanes are back open. That's good news for the congestion I-10 eastbound. Americas Avenue, North Loop Drive, injury accident there. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles. It was 3 left lanes blocked. Now it's 1. And watch for an injury accident. Alameda at Zaragoza. Big backup on Zaragoza both directions. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our weather pattern has turned really quiet for tonight and for this weekend with lighter winds and warming temperatures. However, we do have our next weather maker that will begin to slightly increase our winds on Sunday, but really get them cranking for next week. We are under a weather warn as a result that will begin for your Monday and last through Thursday.
This report is sponsored by Gila River Hotels and Casinos.
Experience bigger, bolder, and better at Phoenix, Arizona's newest resort with new guest rooms, suites, pools, and amenities. Taste the here and now at our new rooftop restaurant and lounge. It's time to own your moment, so you do you. For more information, visit playathila.com.
Louis Gohmert, what a wonderful guy. This is a man who's been a friend of mine from day one.
I'm Louis Gohmert. As a congressman, I worked with President Trump to build the wall.
Thank you, Louis.
He's the only one that might be even tougher than us on the board. As a judge, I applied the law equally, no political favors.
Louis Gohmert, the Texas conservative with Texas integrity.
Ken Paxton's attacks on me are now revealing a real desperation. It doesn't bother me. As a judge, I've stared down even the most hardened of criminals. The fact is, Ken Paxton has been indicted for fraud and is being investigated for bribery. And the Democrats are licking their chops. But Texans shouldn't be punished for his actions. I'm Louis Gohmert, and as your next Attorney General, I'll restore the rule of law, and we will secure the border once and for all. Trust me, I'll be the woke mob's worst nightmare.
Louis Gohmert, Fort Texas. Political ad paid for by Louis Gohmert Campaign.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring IT help desk professionals to solve real-world technical challenges and help protect our nation's security. Apply now at gdit.com/careers.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels? I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has. Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Either of those names, most of those places, Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, you're going to find us. Be able to chime in as you want to. One of the better ways throughout all of our programs to have your conversation added in with your 2 cents by commenting there. But we also have those phone lines open now. The number to do so calling is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Talking about a lot of things here. Some of the commentary going on. James Radcliffe saying that he can't find a lot of news about the materials provided by the federal government to build the wall in Texas here. I will admit it has been a little bit not that widely reported on, particularly by national sources here. The Texas Tribune did a decent overview of the situation, but a little bit more specifics come from, if you find it over on Tucson.com, that's the website for the Arizona Daily Star, because that is a little bit more local to where some of that is going to be happening. According to them, they actually have pictures of some of the unused bollards for the border wall construction and within that area that stopped at the transition of the administrations, and specifically points out that they're going to be processed, a lot of the materials at the Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, and that the $6 million worth is actually a very minor part of the overall value, them estimating it at around more than $200 million here. I think it was in the 260s, rather, for the total amount of material that is still to be $265 million in leftover wall parts from dormant construction sites along the U.S.-Mexico border, with many of the materials going to that Air Force Base in Tucson there, according to, again, Tucson.com. So that's been one of the more detailed sources I've found on the subject here, but it will agree with you, not one of the more focused on things in the meantime. I mean, I just happen to don't necessarily watch it that often, but watching some of the, mainstream news areas, CNN and MSNBC were on in a restaurant I was in a little bit earlier today. And quite a lot of focus and airtime being taken up with Ukraine and related issues. I have a reasonable amount of concern with that whole situation myself, but it has been definitely a bit of an issue in getting, other things like this focused on. So, I try to find out information there. Kelvin Williams saying that, Well, coming with a new slogan for a Democrat here. It says, no guns, no jail, no bail, no arrest, no child without a mask, no border, no energy. So expressing his opinion on this current election here. Let's bring it on home with that as well. We are looking at a roughly just under 2% voter turnout so far for our local area, El Paso County, in this current primary election. So the plea for this hour, make your plan to go vote and go out and actually do it. I will be going out myself here before too long. James Ratcliffe with an interesting point as well about that. Many people don't know the Ukrainian president was a comedian in his former career. It was a little bit of the, what was it, Man of the Year, the Robin Williams film, kind of sensibility that I got from that guy. You may have heard previous in, was it even this week? It feels like it was a couple of weeks ago, but pretty sure it was this week when he was saying that, oh yeah, I think that Russia's going to attack on Tuesday. So everyone get ready. And then that apparently came out. That was a facetious statement being made on his part that got way more airtime that was intended to. So, yeah, the current Ukrainian president is an interesting gentleman. I mean, the whole history and what's been going on in Ukraine since 2014, really, during their not quite revolution, but everything that can be happening in the current situation can be traced directly to that. Calvin Williams with another comment about the Ukrainian president there also has to be the most calm person in the world considering that his nation is surrounded at the moment. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be making any jokes at that point, but that's just me. So able to have a spare thought within your head being in that kind of a situation is mildly impressive. I will agree with there. So that's a result of some of those elections. I mean, when you come down to the whole Ukrainian situation, it has been again, since you keep referring to it in this show, the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, a push and pull between East and West. I think we heard at the top of one of our news hours here, or recently have anyway, from one of the presidents of the Baltics, Lithuania, and Estonia. Another situation I do not envy them to be in the international security kind of community, the stuff that I can see anyway. Lithuania and Estonia referred to as NATO's 25-minute speed bump. Because if things were to really kick off in a way, because anything happening in Ukraine and any kind of real scale, I'll be very surprised if it remain centralized on the Ukraine. The Baltics would essentially be the path of least resistance for invading forces, and it's expected that they will then give the rest of the forces stationed within the larger European region about 25 minutes of time before they are rolled right over. So don't really envy their position in this world either. I mean, for the longest time, better part of a decade now, Russia has basically treated them like their own personal guinea pigs for all the cybersecurity stuff. Don't remember which one offhand, but one of those Baltics essentially had its internet turned off for an indeterminate period of time by what essentially came out as Russia toying with better methods of doing this kind of asymmetric warfare. So whether or not that conflict really kicks off, some of the warnings coming out about banking and critical systems, just another good reason to have maybe, okay, just if you're not anywhere, start with that weak supply of canned goods. That's my gentle recommendation to you in all of this. Kevin Williams saying, at least, if nothing else, Putin knows how fast we can respond to an invasion. Again, that's not much consolation when it comes to the perspective of the speed bump, I will say there. So I don't have my crystal ball is very cloudy when it comes to that whole situation. Hope it doesn't kick off in any significant way, but there's effectively been a state of war happening within the eastern parts of Ukraine. I mean, the Crimea being annexed, I mean, there was literally its own Crimean War about that well back in history, but within the eastern regions, the shelling that's going on, that's just some of the things that I look at, but that has been an active conflict that has led to thousands of deaths since the middle of last decade, even a bit before. So those are just some of the concerns I have. James Radcliffe asking how asymmetric warfare can be used in the U.S. So there's a term when it comes to militarily referring to some of the other countries around the world, even Russia and China, as near peer. So not peer warfare, but near peer warfare, meaning that they are formidable in any circumstance, but their technological level that they're at when it comes to military development is not where we are, that we have had since not too long after World War II. Us and our allies, and the reason NATO is what it is, have had a distinct technological advancement and advantage when it comes to these things, and this is well known within their security forces. So there has long been the consideration of, okay, how do we get around that? And they've been looking at the vulnerabilities, including cybersecurity and all those issues. So that's, I mean, I am not by no means an expert, a hobbyist at best in this kind of realm, but when it comes to, I mean, there was a decent web series or a short movie actually called American Blackout. If anyone can find that online, look for it. I don't even think you can buy it anymore, but that has been very influential to me in doing further study and even looking at what I might do for myself in that kind of a situation. Essentially, the conceit of that movie is that there is a blackout that wipes out power across the entire country. They don't really get into why, but rather what the impact would be, and kind of a docudrama speculative kind of way. And so if you can find that one, I would heavily recommend looking at that here. We're going to take at least a couple more calls before the end of the hour. We do have Nate on the east side here with us right now. Nate, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. And as always, God bless you for allowing me to have a minute or so to share some points of views on this great Friday. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being a strong advocate for encouraging people to at least make their smallest effort. That's to go out and find a location and vote at anywhere throughout this city and county. It's so important. I mean, that's the least we could do for this great state, a city, state in our country. Just think about if it's such a sacrifice for you to drive a few miles and stand on line for 10 minutes to vote. My second part of this goes to, we have men and women in harm's way in many nations in the world, right up to include today. And think about the sacrifice they're making to be in those frozen, God-forsaken places. And I won't go into no more detail, but I'll leave right there. But I have gotten information, that the different ones. But the bottom line is this. Think of this harsh sacrifice they have to make to put their lives on the line. Think of their parents and sisters and brothers and husbands and wives and children that say, my loved one is in harm's way. Have to go thousands of miles just to get there to serve and protect what we have here. For sure, it's just a small commitment for you to get up and go vote to keep our country strong. And I'll conclude with that, Andrew. But I thank you for allowing me this time, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you for the point in the call. I do appreciate it. Putting in perspective is often a more useful exercise than not, because again, minimum effort is a decent way to put it here, but I still encourage everyone. I think it has more of an impact than you might think, at the very least in terms of showing those that are elected in our area that you are paying attention, and not just you, but a lot more than that here. We're going to take that last break before we get to the end of the hour here. So we got more calls in the line that we'll get to here. So if you're there, stay in the line. Otherwise, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound at Loop 375, a wreck has got the left lane closed there. There's a minor backup to Don Haskins. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles, an accident's got one left lane blocked there. There's a backup. Alameda at Zaragoza, still a backup there from an earlier injury accident. Use Pendale Road to get around it. An accident's cleared finally. McRae Boulevard exit at I-10 eastbound. Still a little bit of a backup there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Make this the winter of you with Audible. Listen to the best of what you love. From comedy to wellness to the latest bestsellers. Find it all at Audible with audiobooks, exclusive originals, and popular podcasts. Start listening free when you sign up at audible.com.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness? Modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Here's Joe Biden's strategy for the border crisis.
There will not be another
foot of wall constructed on my administration. In the first 100 days of my administration, no one will be deported at all.
Biden's reckless border policies have emboldened dangerous drug cartels. Listen to Tarrant County Sheriff Bill Wayburn.
There's a clear and present danger. It's deadly fentanyl, and it's killing our kids. How's it getting here? Through our southern border. That's why Governor Abbott's deployed the National Guard to assist law enforcement at the border. He's given us new authority to arrest trespassers. He's increased jail capacity to handle criminal arrests. Joe Biden should be securing this border, but he won't. That's why Governor Abbott is getting the job done.
Governor Abbott is endorsed by the National Border Patrol Council. On March 1st, vote for Governor Greg Abbott, securing the future of Texas.
Political ad paid for by Texans for Greg Abbott.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to participate in the show. A couple of things we want to tell you coming up for the next week. More candidate interviews, working on a few of those for you. Plus, going to be talking with some of those companies making the investment in the borderland and what's the driving force behind it? How does that relate to our current situation and what that might mean going forward? Because it's been a bit of an undercurrent and one I've been fascinated talking about, so we'll focus more on that with one of the companies doing that investment. So stay tuned for that and a whole lot more. Again, open invitation to any of these competitive candidates here. I'll get into the judge races, even though I think that's some of the more intractable ones for our general audience out there. But really, anyone who is on the ballot here in these competitive races, be happy to hear from you. Emailed me, Andrew J. Polk at, that's my Gmail, Andrew Polk at iHeartMedia.com. Best way to get at me, or call in. Take a few more calls here. We do have Joe on the west side here with us right now. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, question. Who does everybody know who Abbott and Costello are? Because, I mean, that's got to be pretty old.
I mean, that is a dated one. I get the reference, but yeah, we're talking about the black and white comedy duo. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I know who it is, but a lot of the young people wouldn't know. But I called in for a different reason. I just wanted to express my opinion about the previous president that we had. I mean, to me, he was, and I was a manager. I managed many projects and many people, so I know, the character of people. And to me, this man, President Trump, had a beautiful family. The family was all educated, smart, hardworking, and as far as we know, none of them were crack addicts. And the other thing is that this president had leadership skills. He was hardworking, foresight, and as far as we know, he actually had a full-time job outside of government before he got into the presidency. But he was disliked by the rhinos because he was wealthy. He was a leader. He had, like I said before, foresight. So certainly that wasn't going to he wasn't in there to get rich. He was already wealthy. And most of the people in politics right now, like Pelosi, Biden, Obama, Clinton, all those guys were in it just to get wealthy. They didn't care about the people.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've started looking at certain financial pages that are following the investments and major expenditures being made by longtime elected officials, because I found those to be, fascinating to look at here. The entire, to get kind of your core concept there, the entire phrase career politician just irks me in ways I find hard to describe, except when you start getting down to the nitty gritty of it, of the idea of that being the career and there not being much happening outside of the halls of whatever elected office that has been. You lose some perspective there. I'll agree with you. I really think the major part that came down to between the former president himself, and particularly the media, was just why isn't this working? I mean, think about it in terms of, okay, further historical, technically before my time, but Michael Dukakis, and how he essentially got scuttled his campaign because of a goofy photo shoot that happened with him in a tank. That was kind of the inciting reason that has still been brought up to me, even about why his campaign failed. So that's the kind of the threshold that had previously been put into place. And so if someone was doing something that's, an editorialist or someone didn't like, it wasn't necessarily that hard to say, okay, and then we'll paint him in a bad light. The fact that it just kind of didn't work in the Trump administration, I think, irked people in that industry and of that mentality more than anything else I could describe. That's the way I think about it anyway.
Well, what I was really getting at, I was trying to get to was that he is now being investigated by a very incompetent, lazy person by the name of Letitia James. She's the Attorney General for New York. And what she is doing, she is farming out all of Trump's financial statements to all these liberal lawyers so that they can see what they can find out about him and his family. Because she can't do it herself. She's not capable.
I mean, yeah, the whole concept of you show me the man and I'll show you the crime does seem to be a little bit of fact there. I mean, fishing expeditions certainly seem to be a part of it, but I fully invest. I mean, I'm fully in favor of transparency and things being investigated when need be, but I don't know if I'd find myself as kindly responding to that if I found myself happening in my own life there. So, we're going to have to get back to this here on another day because we're about out of time here for this show. One last quick question coming in effect here is from James Radcliffe asking, do you think the Ukrainian-Russian affair is a diversion from China invading Taiwan? Potentially, I think if that does kick off, that China will probably take some efforts against the, should I say West Taiwan will try to affect main Taiwan is the way I'm going to choose to say that right now. We're going to have to leave it there for today because we are out of time here for this program. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, calling, comment. We are helping make this show what it is. We'll do it again Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Still on the old habits here. We'll take those pound 250 calls as well if you want to leave us a message. But otherwise, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all, and weekend. See y'all Monday.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at Loop 375. A wreck has got the left lane closed there. There's a minor backup to Don Haskins. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Giles. An accident's got one left lane blocked there. There's a backup. Alameda at Zaragoza. Still a backup there from an earlier injury accident. Use Pendale Road to get around it. An accident's cleared finally. McRae Boulevard exit at I-10 eastbound. Still a little bit of a backup there. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Now may be the perfect time to buy a home financed by Loan Depot. Loan Depot has over 300 loan products to help you make home ownership a reality. Interest rates are near historic lows. Rates will not stay low forever. So call 866-888-LOAN so one of our thousands of loan officers can help you find the right loan. Call 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. Loan Depot. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smartmouth Mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smartmouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/radio.
Following program will be recorded.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. News on the hour and the hat. traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to invade Ukraine. That's what President Biden said he believes.